let's start to add some assets in here to make things a little bit more interesting. Now we're going to use, or at least I'm going to use, BlenderKit. I've kind of explained that you can use, you can use Megascans for assets, you can use BlenderKit for assets, you can use Polyhaven for assets. If we go to the Polyhaven thing, we can go to assets and, well, model assets rather than texture assets. So there's plenty of stuff here that we can use. In fact, let's maybe use a couple of different ones. So I'll show you Polyhaven and BlenderKit. So I don't know if we can get like a home, like a shelf. Let's see if we've got we can look through some of these categories and see if we can find. Oh, cool, chest set. Let's grab that, download that. You can see they're pretty big, 500 megs. That's massive. So do just be aware that some of these assets can get really large. Oops, I cancelled it. I'll just keep that downloading and. Oh, no, that looks like it's broken. So let's try again. Yeah, there we go. Now you see it's going to download a Blender file, which is good because then we can append that Blender file into our scene. But we'll also now just use the BlenderKit add-on. So I think I've already downloaded it. You just want to go to the BlenderKit website. Download the BlenderKit add-on. Download that, and then once that's downloaded, you can go into your add-ons, install, find it in your downloads. I suggest kind of getting your keeping your add-ons also in a resources folder, so that you don't lose them. We'll grab that, install it, turn it on. It will take a little while to kind of set up, but once it is, you'll get this like little search bar at the top of your screen here, and if you turn this little eye on and off, you can see that you can see a bunch of assets here. So for example, a good place to start is with plants. So plant models. You'll see that some of these are locked. That means that you have to be subscribed to the paid tier of BlenderKit to use them. But you can always go into the filtering section here and just hit free first, and it's going to show you all of the free assets first. There are tons and tons and tons of free assets in here, so that's really helpful because you can find lots of unique assets. So if we chuck this plant in here, I just clicked on it once and it's going to chuck that plant down here. Just make sure you're grabbing, so basically all of these assets, if we have a look in our room collection, I think it's been put in its own little collection here, plant. We might as well just keep that in the room. Just be aware that when you bring it in, if you have this room collection selected, it'll chuck this new object in the room collection, but if you have the old plant collection selected, it'll put stuff in the plant, so you kind of want to make sure you're just careful about how you're using them. But with the plant, we can grab that asset. Whoops, that's the floor. You just want to be aware as well that you want to grab this object here, and it's probably best to do it from the outliner. So grab this plant object, and then it'll use the basically all of these are going to be, all of the bits of this plant are parented to this empty object, which once we look at depth of field, we'll kind of see how that works. But yeah, that means you can now move around your plant object, and it'll move all of the parts of it as well. We can rotate that around the z-axis so that we get the nicer side of it. And then we can kind of make sure that this is sitting nicely on the table here. And with our scene, we can kind of reframe our camera as we go. And the general process of this is just configuring assets within your scene. One thing that you want to do is, as you're adding more and more stuff, turn on scene statistics Maybe also turn on video memory. Just make sure that your scene, if your scene exceeds the available video memory, then you're going to have issues. You're going to have issues with rendering. Certain things aren't going to show up. It might crash while you're trying to render stuff. So just be aware that you're not putting too many objects in your scene. Like as soon as your scene starts to get into the high, like million plus, couple of million plus polygons, things are going to be difficult. Things are going to be difficult to manage. So just pay attention to that. Let's just drag down the strength of our external environment just a touch. And then we'll jump into objects so that we can start to configure some materials. This is really a process of maybe we'll see if we can find a chair, kind of dining chair for our perfect. So what's a good dining chair in this situation? To be quite honest, with Blender Kit, some of these assets aren't fantastic. Some of them are great. Some of them aren't as probably refined as the ones you might find on Polyhaven. Is that the right one? Polyhaven. But then, like, some of them are pretty good. So, like, this is a pretty classic chair design here. It's going to look relatively good within the context of this environment. So let's maybe click on the old Porto chair. And because we're working at a reasonable scale, let's find out. And see here, we've been selected our plant. We've had our plant selected. So the Porto chair has been dumped in the plant. Let's just grab that collection and move it into the room so that we're not moving bits of one object around when we're moving bits of other object around. So we take our Porto chair. Let's rotate that around the Z axis. Rotate around the Z. And we'll just drag it around here. We can Shift D to duplicate, and then also, Shift D to duplicate, hit Escape, and then we can move and rotate around the Z again. And as we as we start to set up in our environment, things are going to get start to look better and better.